Hello team, welcome back to another Line War cast. Here's your map. 2 players, valithor2 in blue spawning in this mountain range, and Romad in red spawning up by this forest. Splitting the map a little bit, north to south. And I don't think either player has like a outright better starting location here. 3 barracks and a factory for Romad to the north, and 2 barracks, an airport, and a factory for valithor at the bottom. Romad's adding a second factory, and it's Sam's out of the first factory, which is not like super surprising or anything. Valithor's going for commando drops, which is a common thing, I think, that Valithor has been going for lately. And I stand corrected. So it's just going straight strikers. And I wonder if it's because valithor saw these infantry so close and just think that like a striker is a better call here to be defensive. Because if Romad actually had a bunch of infantry, this could get kind of sketchy if blue was going for commando drops. Romad's going for all commandos to back cap. Or rather, I guess the commandos are going forward, which does make more sense. So the infantry is going to the back to back cap, and the commandos go forward to actually fight. First gas for valithor to the bottom here. Romad has no need for gas, since there are no gas units. If there's tanks that end up coming out of the factory, then there will be a gas requirement. But Romad has these 3 super close gases, a 4th one even close. Valithor's second gases are probably these 2 southern ones. Potentially this far right one, because valithor will probably be able to lay claim to that one relatively easily. And right now it really looks like it's going to be a slow, just macroing game. Second airport for valithor, who has 1 tank. And the tank might have been in reaction to those infantry. I really wonder what this tank's going to do. The attack path is this way. There's open fields. Tanks are great at capping open fields. Maybe that's the plan. Blue's hanging at... Well, both players are hanging at 320 economy. So very... like in comparison to the last game, very, very tame opening from both players. I guess in this game, both players are spawning a decent distance away. There's really nothing else to say. We're just going to kind of wait here and for however this develops. As for what player has a better economic outlook, I think it's pretty much even, really, when it comes down to it. So valithor's alternating SAMs and tanks out of this factory, which I have liked using tanks more lately. Because of the forest and the mountains, it's going to be tough to make tanks work against this base. That's likely not the plan, though, as the tanks are going to the left. And strikers are certainly within range of hitting some of these buildings. $392 income for blue and $380 for red. I wonder if Romad can make something happen with those infantry to the left. It would be huge for like a proxy base to get set up or something. This choke is very important. If Romad could magically hold valithor here, that would be a huge win for red. So 2 airports both making strikers for valithor at this point. There is no commando drop. There's no transport ship. Looking at both players' lines to get an idea of what's going on. Things will start to pop off in this field. Finally, this is kind of like first contact really when it comes down to it. Romad definitely has enough SAMs that the strikers valithor has will have to be very careful of where these things are. In the forest, it'll be tough to see them as well. valithor can see one poking out here. The numbers mismatch for red on the mountain here doesn't do any favors, especially since these infantry are fighting against commandos. valithor has 4 strikers at this point. With the back capping barracks on the way, Romad's responding in kind with another back capping barracks. It's not just for back capping, I mean, these can be used to push forward as well. Okay. Romad's making a great move down here with a like perfect number of infantry and commandos, I think. But for valithor, this is hard to see. Alright, the infantry shows up, but the commandos are stealth and will be stealth and potentially the whole time. Planes come home because they see the SAMs, presumably. This is going to be a very good fight for Romad, who is moving over the SAMs to give air cover, which is definitely the play. And thankfully for Romad, this is also cleared up. $524 income for valithor and $464 for Romad. This is a wonderful fight for red. 2 tanks will be annoying for Romad to deal with over here. And the SAM position has really made it tough for these planes to find any value. I mean, valithor hasn't lost any, but they haven't really done any damage at all. Right, so the 2 factory SAMs has actually turned out to be quite the play here. The tank commando combination. Very strong. Tanks have terrible vision. Commandos have great vision. Commandos aren't that great in a straight up fight, and tanks are great in a straight up fight. So there's a lot of synergy between the 2 units. Romad's doing the best play here, which is capping the back. Very close to where valithor is. And I wonder if there's going to be able to be a barracks built here. Depot from valithor is only sitting on 3 gas. This is important, and probably with how long these planes going to sit here, it's great to get a depot. I really like depots. The SAMs continue to move up to protect the infantry and the commandos, which is a great play. 548 income for Romad. 560 at this point, and valithor is over 600. With 1 full airport worth of planes, and the second airport's working on the 4th striker now. So there probably will be an airstrip at some point. valithor's doing the wild move, which is transferring this striker over to this airport so that when this striker finishes on the leftmost airport, the airport will build 1 more striker. Like, super efficient. So a very cute flourish of micro to get another plane out. I mean, income is relatively even. Romad's going for the 3rd factory, which I definitely like. And continuing to pump artillery SAM out of the factories, which is working really well against what valithor has. These 4 infantry for valithor could make something happen, especially if they can get like barracks set up over here. I guess these 2 back barracks are pumping commandos into the right side of the map for blue. And Romad's gone for another barracks, which is in the best spot, which is to the left, to help cap all this. If Romad can get the whole left side of the map, this is going to be a lot of economy. for red. So here comes the strikers for the first time from valithor. There's a decent number of SAMs. There's enough that the strikers will take a beating here. Yeah, so the strikers are just going to go back. I mean, that's a great play to get the most value out of the strikers as possible. If Romad manages this well, this could do a ton of damage. There's a good amount of artillery. There's not like any tanks for blue that are going to come save the day here. And there's enough SAMs that if both these airports launch, it's still going to be a lot of damage. And so yeah, valithor is going to build a factory. And there might be a subtle amount of panic to this factory. So let's see how Romad manages this situation. I have to keep switching back to get the incomes, and both are very similar. 3 tanks. To the left for blue is really the only good news on the left side of the map. And here's that airstrip. So it's almost about 3 airports full of strikers. A potential thing that happens here is somehow this is... Not somehow, I mean there's a lot of work to do, but if red somehow loses all the SAMs to the planes or whatever, and then with a number of planes, blue can start counterattacking. I love that Romad's going for another factory. So this is the ultimate moment. Let's see how these planes trade. The fact that valithor's only going for tanks now, I think is definitely the play. Strikers do decent against the SAMs because of the numbers, but it's still a unfortunate trade for the strikers in these numbers. So it's really... I mean, there's only 2 airports left worth of planes for blue, so that went very well. 5 SAMs left over. And Romad's about to get on top of production. I just suspect this is a very scary moment. valithor's building barracks to the left side of the map. Which is definitely a play because all that economy needs to be contested. Romad is spreading the units a little bit, but those 4 artillery pieces in the mountains are just doing such a great job. After this striker runs, there's going to be no more SAMs for the time being. And that would be the turning point. The infantry trying to snipe the gas are not going to get there. There's enough commandos. Romad's putting down another factory. And this is definitely held. Pushing through the mountains is hard. Second gas for valithor. Romad's going to thankfully pick up this barracks. 944 income for Romad, 846 for valithor, who has the opportunity to potentially push back here. There's only 2 SAMs. The striker number is slowly growing back up again. First gas finally for Romad. We saw tanks on the way for red. But I think Romad probably sends everything home. Yep, and there it goes. It's a good pickup. If Romad can find this barracks, that would be a huge win. And probably even putting down another barracks on the left-hand side. Potentially. There's 5 factories and enough barracks in this forest, I think, to hold. valithor's going for another barracks on the right-hand side. If these are building commandos, it could get really... I mean, they're going to definitely be building commandos, but if valithor can make those commandos work on both the left and right-hand side of the map, That could be a lot of multitasking for Romad to keep up with. Romad's ahead a little bit, but the economy right now is not anything huge. I like that there's a second barracks here for Valithor. Romad sees them. In vision at least, but this is a decent moment to deal with. If you're red. Especially with this many planes now. It's enough planes that they probably could kill this number of SAMs. It's still heavy trades that blue takes. But it is enough. And there you go. Last SAM's taken out, so this means the next time that these planes launch, they'll be able to do even more damage after resetting the SAM count. Here comes Romad's first airport. I like this. And perfect. I say, I don't know, I mean, I say perfect. It's obviously not perfect for Valithor. This is unfortunate. Valithor knows that building barracks here is very important. With some tank support, that could start pushing it back into Valithor's favor over there on the left-hand side of the map. Romad's breached 1,000 income. Valithor is pretty much there as well at 966. Romad's going to get this barracks before the planes show up. I mean, either the commandos are going to die before it, and there's your answer. This is probably even a better place to build these barracks, because they take a little bit of concealment bonus in the forest. The big wildcards right now are the far left side of the map and the far right side of the map. But I think with a little bit of work, Romad's going to be able to clean this up. This is annoying, but there's really only 4 infantry or 5 infantry behind. You don't often see this. Commandos and tanks running alongside each other of different colors. Third gas. Now for Valithor, which makes sense. I mean, there's 3 airports, and if we look at the gas, even with that depot that was helping for a while, now Valithor's actually flying the planes quite often. If these tanks keep running, they'll be able to get out of range of these strikers. But they're gonna definitely take the first volley. Four tanks now for Romad. For Valithor. I really like that airport and the mountains for Romad. And Valithor's going for industry. 1038 income for Valithor, 1040 for Romad. This is very close. And it's really just big commando armies everywhere. Valithor's not going to be able to see this airport. It's in the mountains, and tanks don't have good vision. And there's no air coverage for Valithor to actually go hit that airport. So it could be a huge, win for Romad to be able to keep that airport, or get that airport up and running. Romad must have taken this as a starting territory. I don't know how the water's controlled. Probably did, and I just never even noticed. Commandos fighting artillery on the left side. It's not going to work. Valithor's probably in a better position in the center here. But with red reinforcing, this is going to turn into a big battle, but I think with the artillery pieces, Romad's going to be able to handle it. If the artillery gets in the fight. There's actually 2 airports over here, and they're making helicopters, or the one airport in the mountains is making helicopters, which I like. Interceptors out of the central airport. pretty wild fight in the mountains. Or in the forest, part of me. But yes, Romad ends up cleaning this up. 6 tanks is enough to do a lot of damage. Romad knows that and sees that, and this is why these units are moving. To try to cut this off. It's kind of a tough situation for Romad to deal with because there's a lot of tanks in random different locations on the left-hand side of the map. If we look at Romad's view, it feels very scary whenever your territory is getting capped. And you can't see the units. 6 tanks is definitely the number to kill all of that artillery and infantry. First helicopter is almost dead for Romad on the left, so let's see how that changes the fight. Because it has the potential to, like, do a lot for red. Deal with those tanks very easily. And then start building up a heliswarm number. All 6 tanks are still alive. Three barracks for valithor in this bottom right forest is definitely the play. I didn't even notice this. 4 tanks just chilling in the back. These tanks could do a lot of damage. They're moving through mountains, which isn't great for them right now, but if they were to get on top of the buildings, Sams aren't going to be able to put up much of a fight. So Romad's going to reposition some of the army to deal with this. Still looking great for Romad on the left-hand side. 1232 income for Romad, 1166 for valithor. The 3 barracks on the right-hand side of the map could do a ton for valithor. This is going to be big, and how quickly Romad sees it, if Romad sees it. Valithor's going to target the buildings. This is going to be a very tough trade. I don't think any of these buildings are going to go down. It feels like Valithor had to do this, given the situation. But I mean, it's perfect SAM positioning from Romad, and these 2 interceptors here were here the whole time. Flanking tanks are going to have to make it work. 5 barracks. This is going to be a lot. I mean, this is going to inevitably be why Romad wins Valithor wins the left side, I think. Because that's going to build quite the army. Valithor now has 3 airports worth of planes. And Romad's got a handful of helicopters, which will slowly deal with these tanks, which is really good. Helicopters out of the central airbase for Romad. I mean, if the helicopters can stay alive and you get enough of them, they're very, very good. We can kind of go big picture here. The left side of the map is still pretty nebulous. Unclear who's winning on that side. And I think Romad has an opportunity. I mean, if Romad were to just sprint these tanks up to this gas, that could be big. Or if they were able to see this airstrip, which they're not because they don't have great vision, but if Romad already knew about this airstrip, these tanks can do a lot of damage to buildings real quick, and there's really not much at home for Valithor defending, except for these strikers. And the tanks are venturing out pretty far from the SAM coverage. I like that Romad's investing more on the left-hand side, but Romad's running out of money. Valithor's at 1250 income floating money, and Romad's at 1316 and technically losing money right now. It's a lot of units in the back. I wonder how much the upkeep all this infantry and commandos are costing. Romad's still in a strong spot. This is going to be very tough to lose. And all the helicopters are in the back after dealing with the tanks. There's a lot going on in this game. A lot of fronts going on for both players to deal with. But Romad's definitely going to lose this airport. It's very difficult to try to get into this forest. And a missile is really not going to do it because the missiles... I mean, the radius wouldn't do all too much. And they're just so expensive. I am shocked that this airport didn't go down. 6 helicopters, a 7th one on the way. I mean, this is looking good for Romad on this side. I mean, these strikers might just click on this airport at this point for valithor to finish it off. The interceptors have found the tanks, but interceptors don't do a ton of damage to the ground as they snipe 2 tanks and maybe even clear this 3rd one. So here come the planes, and what's the plan? Yeah, they're just gonna snipe this. I mean, this is when it's great to just attack the airstrips if possible, but there's enough infantry for blue that it's probably not gonna go down. Unless all these helicopters just go for it. I mean, Romad sees the airstrip, at least the first one. And it's a big win for Red that barracks to the left just got sniped. And the second one will definitely fall. That's a just crazy DPS with that many helicopters, how quickly that airstrip falls down. Falls down is the verb I just used. Or action word, whatever it is. Commandos and infantry on the right hand side, this is a lot. valithor has the ability to break out with that many units. But these helicopters could do a lot of damage. Somehow tanks are linking. I guess they just ran right across the front and these tanks didn't cut them off. This is definitely the moment it heats up. Romad's going for 2 more airports, sitting at 1424 income. valithor's at 1226. There's actually a heli swarm at this point for Romad. The helicopters have for the most part stayed alive. Romad is out of gas though. Does Romad only have 1? No, there's 2 gases. But the gas question is something important for both players, but especially for Romad at this moment in time. I wonder where, if valithor's going to build more barracks over here, or try to. This is a very large army moving through the center of the screen for Romad. This is the only group of SAMs for blue, so if these SAMs were to go down to this army, and by that point there's a handful of helicopters, that could be really big for Romad. The commanders are going to try to miss it to try to take out the helicopters. Here comes that 3rd gas for Romad, which is wildly important right now. The air coverage didn't come with this army. Unfortunately. Strikers are going to get great trades until they're pushed back. Commanders are just shooting helicopters off the ground, which is wildly good for valithor, who has 4 barracks and a factory in the back. I didn't even see it. 1496 for Romad and 1226 for valithor. And Romad has more money. I mean, this looks like it's going well for both players, depending on how you look at it. This is just so brutal for Romad to lose all those helicopters. And a commando snipe on the gas, the 3rd gas from valithor, which is an enormous deal right now. How many tanks does it, or how long does it take 1 tank to kill an airport? We're about to find out. This is very dangerous for Romad. That is super, super dangerous. All those infantry on the right-hand side. Tank was not able to do it. There's a lot of planes for valithor at this point. If Romad had the gas, it would be sweet to just have a bunch of tanks just go for this. Sprint across the field and start taking out the gas or something. With the help of air coverage, valithor's pushed this back. And this big attack that's about to happen might be one of the final turning moments of the game. This is running away from Romad in the top right. That's going to be a lot of economy that's capped. Stolen from red and given to blue. And on the left-hand side, there's definitely is a breakout. Luckily for Romad, this army is going to run into a big blob of red. Not be able to move farther. It's a great strafing run from valithor, who's about to head home, I believe. I mean, geez, there's so many SAMs here. Romad's still struggling with gas a little bit. These buildings will get taken out over time. There's commandos everywhere for blue, which has to be very stressful. We can see the entire right side of the map. Like, valithor has been able to lock this down. Romad's going for 2 gases at once. I like this play. And really, I think that's the major thing that's holding red back right now. $14.48 income from Romad and $12.74 for valithor. In some ways, I feel like valithor is winning, though. Because this overtime is going to be devastating. Finally, with all these planes. Second valithor breaks out into the left. I think that's the big turning point. Because the momentum's already on valithor's side on the right-hand side of the map. Probably one of the closer games. We're 35 minutes into the game. I don't know who wins. Incomes are like relatively even. I think it comes down to this big fight. and whether Romad has an answer for this army and is able to take back this right-hand side of the map. At least to the median line. Okay, this is how I do it. This is how I've just made the hack. This is how I switch between scenes. Because whenever I switch the viewpoint, obviously it changes the where it's looking. 1240 for Romad, or for Valithor, and 1472 for Romad, and we're about to get into the final fight here. Romad's sending everything right now. Pushing to the right as well. This isn't going to go well in the mountains. And that's a lot of SAMs that are going to go down to a bunch of tanks and commandos. But on the left-hand side, I mean, there's a full army that's going to kill an airport. And when these planes lift up, there's a bunch of SAMs that they're going to fly into. This is great for Romad to cut off here and stop these barracks from helping out. This can't be good for the planes. They definitely have to launch. There's no point in keeping them on the ground. But that's a tough assignment. And here comes what is this a... There's so many interceptors. If these were strikers, that would be pretty huge. But with interceptors, I mean, all the planes just died. There's no more planes on the map. Romad just needs to dearly hang on to the left-hand side of the map and clean up the right. And depending on the amount of damage here, it's going to be a lot. Interceptors are exceptionally bad against SAMs. They are super squishy. It's a huge fight. Game's on the line right now. Romad is running out of money, flirting with the red at 1460. Valithor has a bank. It's about to pass Romad, it looks like. This is very good for Romad. This is very good. And if Romad started can cap some of this open land, it could also... I mean, Romad could turn this around. Whenever attacking in the mountains, it definitely favors the defender. But Romad does have a lot of stuff here. And quantity has a quality all its own, as they say. This is tough. If Romad can't keep the left-hand side, it's just... Valithor's so good with making these out-of-the-way barracks that just become pain. 1298 income for Valithor, 1448 for Romad. Who's going for it? It's so much artillery stuck in this one spot. The SAM's trying to kill a lumber mill or whatever the heck it's called. Lumber camp. And it almost did. I guess there's no real point in having the SAMs. There's no more planes left. But it's a very powerful amount of artillery here. I wonder what the units lost is like. In this game. I mean, this is huge for Romad. And really, like, taking back some of this and these two factories and barracks. It's really too bad this couldn't get held. I still think Romad can do it. It's a decent amount of commandos and infantry there. This was likely not super cost efficient for Red. Because of the geography of the mountain and such. $15.32 income for Romad. And $12.16 for valithor. One of the key differences being, though, that valithor is making money. Whereas Romad is running out of money. 4 factories and 4 barracks for valithor in that location. I mean, Romad still has, like, more production in the main base. And this is a big win. Like, there's not even that much stuff up here. For blue. Valthor's making more barracks. 300 income behind. Romad's making some money. And it depends where this barracks is. Where is Valithor making this barracks? Over here? Thought I heard the barracks sound, but I guess I don't know where it is. Okay, GG, we don't get to see who won the game in the replay. I want to say Valithor, but I mean, there's a lot that's going well for Romad right now. But there's also a lot of things that Valithor's doing to hang on. Probably Romad, though. I mean, like, I don't know. Comment if you're like, well, clearly blue or red won, whatever you think, because I'm stumped. Very well played from both players. My final guess is that Romad won. But then this would have been bad. I don't know. Very close game. Cool. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Check out the Landware Discord if you want to learn more about the game. Check out Twitch. I stream on there as SodaQuackers. Same handle. Come check out the category. Say hello. Troll a little. Otherwise, good luck. Have fun. Peace.